A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 142nd edition of the Together for Education webinar brought to you by Notebook. 19 months ago, in April 2020, when the pandemic had just set in and schools had closed down, we at Notebook felt that it was our duty to set up a platform for educators to connect meaningfully on, discussing problems that they were facing with the rising need of digital education and online learning, and arrive at common solutions. Today, 141 episodes later, this platform has grown much bigger than we could have ever anticipated, thanks to your love and support. We have discussed extremely curricular topics here, topics like digital learning and NEP, extracurricular topics like sports and school management, and even evolved topics like mental health. Today, we look at a very interesting facet of education. You prepare students who will go on and shine in their later lives in their chosen vocation or professions. In that, they will deal with people from across the globe. And often, the kind of perception that they would present of themselves would depend on the taste that they have. Taste in music, taste in arts, taste in various finer things in life that somehow have not found a place in our day-to-day curricular planning. We therefore today will discuss how our school system instills a sense for the finer tastes in our young learners. To speak on this, our first speaker today is Major General Neeraj Bali. General Bali is an Indian Army veteran who wore the uniform for 4 decades. He served in Jammu and Kashmir for 10 years and on all the borders multiple times. He commanded an anti-terrorist Rashtriya Rifles battalion in Jammu and Kashmir at the height of terrorism. He was awarded the Sena Medal for Gallantry and the Chief of Army's Commendation twice. He participated in the first Indo-US exercise at a strategic level and was appointed as a mentor on both the US and Indian brigades. He holds an MSc and an MPhil in Defense Studies, and today he is an ICF certified life and leadership coach. So thank you so much for making the time to be here today. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Shubham. Thank you to the entire Notebook team. As always, it's my pleasure to be here. So we're going to talk about building finer tastes. What is it that, why should we be doing it? Why should we be worrying about building finer taste? After all, isn't it enough to just get ahead in life by doing what everybody else is doing, reading like everyone else, experiencing arts and science and culture, only at the bare minimum essential levels? Now, and I will later talk about what the students can do to build finer tastes and what the teachers can do. Now, one of the most obvious phenomena of life in today's world is that we are busy. Over the last decades, I've seen life around me grow less simple, and the daily activity has become hugely more intense. Whether it is the life of the children today, who must appear for interviews even for preschool, and then study endlessly to make it to a decent college, or the lives of the teachers, or the parents, indeed, all professionals, we have been sucked into this relentless activity. I've got 2 grown-up children and their wives, they're all corporate professionals. And when I ask them, how's your life? I usually get the same response. I'm very busy. You know, I like to compare our life today to riding on a daily roller coaster for most part of the day. I wonder how many of you have been on a roller coaster, or at least seen one, or at least seen a video. Now, when you're on a roller coaster, it scares you, it thrills you, it excites you all at the same time. And of course, it keeps you completely occupied for that period. But you know what? When you're on a roller coaster, everything around you is a blur. You never get to see anything. You never get a view. And that is the danger of living a life that only focuses on the ordinary and the routine stuff. In the end, you never get a view, and you seldom enjoy anything of beauty. I'll be turning 64 now, and I know that when people like me, we begin to look back at our lives, we never remember the routine of having worked 9 to 5 or merely accumulated degrees. There are only 2 things that stand out in our memories. the toughest times we had, and the most beautiful experiences which we had. And beautiful experiences, of course, are made possible only by the finer taste that we have. Otherwise, we can't even spot a beautiful experience when that happens. And while some money is required for any experience, you know what? Most of life's finest things are absolutely free, provided we can spot them, recognize them, see the beauty in them. And that is why we must focus on building finer tastes. Let me tell you a little more about a little small slice of my life as a child. I went to a non-English medium school, and all my early education was in Hindi and Punjabi. In fact, no child in my school ever spoke in English, nor did any teacher. And when I was 14, on 13th of July, now this date is etched in my mind, also because I maintain a diary. On 13th of July, 1972, I went to a library that I used to frequent to pick up books in Hindi, and I used to really read a lot of books. That day, I sauntered across to the English section and picked up the courage to borrow an English novel. It was called An Ace Up My Sleeve by James Hadley Chase. It was a thriller written in fairly simple language. I considered that day, when I moved from one level to the other, to be one of the most fortunate of my life. Accidentally, I was exposed to a different language that took me on a journey of enjoying so much of the wonderful world that we live in. But what if I had just stopped at reading basic types of novels full of violence, thrill, and romance, but seldom developing any insight into them? Or what if I had stopped right there and not moved on to higher readings? Please remember that when you dive below the surface and develop a finer insight or taste, that is what makes us winners and allows us to enjoy good things of life when we see them. Here is my take. In life, the simplest things that give us pleasures are the one who only tickles our senses. You know, video games, social media, cartoon films, reels on Instagram, easy to read novels, and so on. Nothing wrong with enjoying these simple and simplistic pleasures. But if that is all you do, you're going to remain ordinary. Just one more person among the billions that will lead very average lives. You would have become a hostage of the pop culture or the popular culture that gives you some pleasure at the surface for sure, but never grows your mind to deal with the more complex things of life, much less enjoy the beauty of art, culture, science that is hidden in plain view all around us. Now, to be able to do that, we have to move a couple of steps upwards. First, towards the thing that rise above the simple thrills and which nudge and tickle our intellect, our minds. And finally, towards things that nourish our deepest instincts or our spirituality. All right. But at your stage as students, if you moved from simply having a thrill or simply reading a syllabus to moving upwards, where your mind starts getting tickled and started getting curious, that is the point at which you can say you are beginning to develop finer tastes. You can, of course, stop at any level you choose, and that will truly determine the quality of your life. So what are these finer tastes that we are talking about? Now, simply put, these are the higher quality, the next level of ideas, things, art, science, culture, the deeper meaning than what is visible to the trained eye. Now, don't let me scare you. We're talking about art, science, and culture all the time. All right. Finer tastes are in everything. Whether you're eating something, you're looking at something, you're reading a poem, you're reading an essay, or whatever else you're doing. And I'm going to give you a very simple example. Each one of us listens to music. But how many of us learn to appreciate it by knowing the meaning of lyrics and the reason why the writer wrote it? The moment you get there, it takes your enjoyment to a next level, besides giving you some talking points. It gives us a whole new level of joy. Now, I have an app that you may be familiar with. It's called Shazam, Shazam, both on my cell phone and on the laptop. Every time I like a song, whether it's playing on my PC or it's playing in the area around me, I click on Shazam and checks the lyrics and then check more about the song. Try it today. It'll give you a different level of understanding and happiness. And it will silently expand your mind in a way that surprisingly, you will begin to understand even other subjects more easily because your mind is expanded. Take the case of a popular song, If I Were a Boy by Beyonce. I'm sure you've heard this. You can, of course, simply enjoy listening to this wonderful song. But if your curiosity takes you to the reading the lyrics and digging a bit deeper, you will see that it was a song two other songwriters wrote, Jean and Gad, and that it is considered one of the finest R&B ballads of its time that speaks so clearly about how the world tends to treat boys and girls differently. You will learn that the song had piano, acoustic guitars, live drums, and strings as musical instruments. And wait a minute, if you're a curious soul, and I hope you are, you will check out what the hell this R&B is, and indeed what is a ballad. You will realize that R&B, or rhythm and blues, is a musical genre developed by African Americans in 1940s. That's been continuously refined to the present day and has now completely diverged from the original rock music. And a ballad is a poem or a song narrating a story in short stanzas. Indeed, some people believe that our own very epic, the Ramayana, is a ballad of Lord Ram and is meant to be sung. So, see, in 2 short steps, in a couple of minutes, we have developed a finer understanding of a slice of music, understanding how a Western R&B song and our own heritage have something in common. This is a very basic understanding of developing a finer taste. You should, of course, strive to build finer taste in every aspect of learning and life. The more hues with which you choose to fill up the canvas of your life, the richer the final appearance is going to be. So, what should we keep in mind if we were to develop finer tastes? First, for the teacher and the parents, we first need to continually refine our own tastes. Of course, you cannot teach what you don't know. No one follows you unless you know it yourself. Secondly, we must make the process or the teaching creative, fun, and simple. The more structured or the more rigid the teaching methodology, the less likely is it to be for the students to embrace what we are calling the finer points or the finer tastes. Real life and contemporary examples are what will drive the development of finer tastes, rather than something that the students cannot relate to. Thirdly, the habit of reading is perhaps the most critical skill that you can encourage if the ultimate goal is to let children discover finer things of life. Unless they become armchair travelers going to different lands and times, how will they appreciate the full spectrum of beauty that exists in the universe? Fourthly, reward those students who research, go into the depth of things, and come up with any nugget with self-learning. To merely stick to the dry bones of the syllabus is a lazy way to teach. It might get you a few results at the end of the year, but it truly is a lazy way to teach. It neither helps the teacher nor leads to a student's quest to grasp these finer nuances that we are talking about today. Now, for the children in the audience, and I suspect that's the majority, I will just say this. The more I read, the higher I raised my standard of reading, the easier it became for me to understand all subjects, including arithmetic, including physics, including chemistry. Because your mind expands. And it also enabled me to extract happiness from even the simplest of things which other children just couldn't see. Be curious. Be investigative, just as I was with the Beyonce song. Take pride in digging up more and more from the wealth of knowledge that is around you, and how lucky you are with all this, the internet and the wealth of information that is so easily available at fingertips. But only learn from the best. I'm going to repeat this. Only learn from the best. If your source of learning is WhatsApp, I'm afraid you're going to end up a loser. Pick your sources well. Finally, I'm going to tell you a little story about Einstein. It's a true story, and it is related by a journalist called Jerome Whiteman. Now, Whiteman says that when he was a young man, he was invited to have dinner at the home of a very distinguished New York philanthropist. And there were a lot of people present there. And after dinner, the hostess took them into the drawing room where there were several musical instruments. Now, Whiteman said, oh, what the hell? He believed that he was tone deaf. He had no interest in music. So as he sat down and the music started, he closed his ears and switched off his mind and started thinking of something else. And then in the end, when the music stopped and people clapped, he also clapped without having heard anything. But suddenly he heard a voice. Sitting next to him was a man with unruly hair who said, are you fond of Bach, the great composer? And he realized that while Whiteman knew nothing about Bach, but he knew who he was looking at. It was one of the most famous faces in the world, Albert Einstein. So he said awkwardly, he said, well, I don't know anything about Bach. I've never heard any of his music. He said, my God, you've never heard of Bach. You know, he sounded as if this guy had never had a bath. So Whiteman said, you know, it isn't that I would love to listen to Bach. I would love to listen to music, but, you know, I'm tone deaf. Nobody's ever taught me music, and I don't think music is my thing. So the look of concern came on Einstein's face. He said, please come with me. And all the guests were watching as to what is happening. Einstein took his arm and led him up the stairs into another room. He appeared to know the house very well. And then he told him, sit down, and said, tell me, is there any music you like? So this guy said, well, I've heard a little bit of Bing Crosby. Einstein said, good. He got up. He looked through some long playing records. You know, in those days, there used to be those LP records, unlike what's available now. And he picked out his record of Bing Crosby and he put it on. He let one stanza play, and then he said, can you please repeat what you just heard? So Whiteman had no choice. He tried to sing it, you know, in the only way he could sing, you know, like people sing on karaoke's. So he sang it. But the expression on Einstein's face was like sunrise. He said, my God, see, you have a great ear. Whiteman mumbled. He said, no, I don't have. He said, nonsense. Einstein said, nonsense. You know, you don't realize that if the first arithmetic lesson that when you joined the school, suppose the first time you ever looked at a number, your teacher had said, come on, do long division and fraction. Could you have done it? Of course not. So you are at the starting blocks, but you understand music. So therefore, I would want you to move step by step and higher by higher. And he said, okay, I'm going to play you another song. He played another song which Whiteman had never heard. And he said, will you please sing it back to me? And Whiteman sang. And that's how it went. And Einstein kept saying, excellent, wonderful. In all, he made this gentleman sing 12 songs. And finally, after singing 12 songs, Whiteman was surprised. He had never imagined he could appreciate music the way he had done in a brief period of, say, 30 minutes. And then Einstein asked him to get up and said, young man, now we are ready for Bach. When they came down to the rest of the guests, the hostess was looking a little irritated. She thought Whiteman had taken Einstein away. So she said, you know, I'm sorry, Mr. Einstein, you missed all the good music. And Einstein said, yes, but my young friend and I were engaged in the greatest activity of which a man is capable. She looked puzzled. She said, really? What is that greatest activity that a man is capable of? And then Einstein said, 10 words. He said, opening up yet another fragment of the frontier of beauty. Opening up yet another fragment of the frontier of beauty. So every time you dig deep, every time you go into details of a piece of poetry, or of even arithmetic, or of whatever you're being taught, or arts, or science, or culture, you are actually opening up another fragment of the frontier of beauty, right? And you have got to open many frontiers of beauty and joy. So, in conclusion, be brave, try new things, read a lot, go into depth, and pay attention to the best. And then, in the end, you yourself will be the best. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for taking us through that wonderful journey and those beautiful anecdotes. I'm sure that line by Einstein will stay with us for a very, very long time to come. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker today is Achin Bhattacharyya. Achin is the founder and CEO at Notebook. A chartered accountant by training, Achin was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. He has worked in India and abroad in various senior capacities in GE, PwC, KPMG, and Deloitte. He is a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, a fellow of the ICAI, and a member of CPA Australia and CPA Ireland. He is also the recipient of the prestigious Indian Achievers Award. Achin is an avid reader and a passionate traveler with keen interest in economics, history, literature, and philosophy. He is a regular speaker at various forums and chambers of commerce and also contributes articles to numerous publications regularly. He is also on the board of some of the most renowned corporates and contributes significantly to their brand strategies. Achin, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Shubha, am I audible?
Yeah, Achin, loud and clear.
I once again welcome all of you to today's session on a topic which is very relevant. I remember few lines that I read quite some time back, but very meaningful and very beautiful lines. As machines take our jobs and do them more efficiently, soon the only work left for us humans will be the kind of work that must be done beautifully rather than efficiently. Real beauty is when the invisible joins the visible, coming on surface. And this doesn't apply only to art or nature. This applies equally to science, human curiosity, solidarity. The world is changing too fast. And there's no doubt that young people must acquire an education that meets the contemporary demand. And arts and culture, from a very integral part of this far-reaching and competitive training across the globe. Like if we take a more holistic view, I think one single word which is synonymous with success is innovation and thought leadership. But across the world, the innovative culture and business spirit are contingent on the forte of world-class education, where arts and culture play a very, very important role. In fact, the paybacks are infinite. These are more arts and culture, if you look at it, these are hands-on subjects that offer immediate recompenses. They focus on constructive development, develop tangible products, and foster associations. For instance, learning help students to appreciate. I think this is a very, very important part of one of the most important learning outcomes that I'm sure you all strive for. The students are able to appreciate different things in society and understand how to relate with individuals in various settings. Arts, for instance, offer unique chance for learners to showcase their capabilities through authentic and original presentations, exhibitions, because these are subjects that help learners grow. And when I say grow, growth in terms of be it thinking profoundly, assertiveness, and of course, they provide a medium to link with others and apply new knowledge that makes learning more engaging. Today, if you look at the entire, global scenario, and be it any career for that matter, originality is one of the top skills, top abilities that employers are looking forward to. Learners who get art-rich education, undoubtedly, they do far better than their counterparts who don't get that opportunity. Because see, going forward, nobody will be hired only for memorizing or retaining any information or data. Because information and data today is, of course, there's no doubt about it, it's available in our fingertips. Thanks to internet, thanks to Google. So no one is going to be hired and no one is going to be paid just for merely memorizing information. Those days are gone. Now it's more about application of knowledge. And the moment you try to apply knowledge, of course, each case is unique. Each circumstance is unique. So naturally, original thinking out of the box, innovation, these things are so important. So subjects like this definitely helps us prepare much better and make students far more adaptable. Qualities like adaptableness, elasticity, I think these are very important and provides an ideal atmosphere promoting creativity. Now, today, many students at a later point of time, people who have done exceedingly well in academics, when we see them in corporate world or see them in different professions, we see beyond a certain point, at times they feel helpless. They really reach out, they seek help, because beyond a point, they feel that they lack originality. They feel intellectually bankrupt. There's a certain limit till which your domain knowledge, till which what you have studied can take you. Now, when you hone your skills in this domain, undoubtedly students will be at an advantage. Now, when we discuss about subjects like art and culture, they provide a background for learning about diverse ancient stages. And I think it's all interconnected. I think J.L. Bali made a very beautiful and wonderful point. They're all interconnected. And expanding our horizon on any given subject actually helps us understand even other subjects much better. Much better. Now, the thing is that individuals also learn about magnificence and proportion, sense of proportion, which is another very important quality. Because subjects like this offer the chance, say for example, today you're studying something like history, offer a chance to inspect conflicts, sentiments, look at life differently. So the power of arts and culture is a tool that gives serenity and joy. They assist us to comprehend tragedy and uphold empathy. So if you have to sum it up, in essence, arts and culture make the whole world alive. And I think today, in this knowledge economy, and today with growing awareness, we all aspire for a society where artists are even more valued. Of course, perceptions have changed, undoubtedly. We have made a lot of progress. Today, parents are far more receptive to their children, opting for creative careers. But I think even much more needs to be done in this direction. And we really aspire for a society where artists are more valued and have more cultural and financial support so that they can focus on creating art instead of being forced to take up jobs in which they're not interested. Now, as time progresses, I think there's no doubt about it that we are getting better and better at paying creators. And it's just a matter of time. In fact, today, I'm so happy to see when I interact with so many parents, teachers, I see, people are far more receptive. It's not only a question of being a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer, taking conventional career paths, but students are coming up. Somebody wants to be a digital illustrator, somebody wants to work in webcomics, somebody wants to be a podcaster. And it's wonderful to see this, people following their passion. So when we discuss about something like creativity, there are different perspectives of looking at it. So for instance, today, if you look at something very simple as a map. Now, what do a map mean to us? How do you look at a map? And today in this era and age of technology, has there been a seismic change? Has there been a shift? When we see Google Maps all around, when we see, our cabs so easily being able to locate us thanks to technology. When we go to an unknown city, we always have a Google Map in our mobile, to find out a house, and we see it's very convenient. But what do maps mean to us? I'm just taking this as an example. Now, whether it's beautifully illustrated treasure map, something scrawled on the back of an envelope, a conceptual brainstorm, or even a palm reading. Today, I think each person has their own unique take on it. To me, maps mean getting lost in other worlds. Maps in literature, lost in the art of cartographers from the 17th century, sea monsters and valiant errors. Lost in great many places I have tried not to get lost in. Places I would hope that map would guide me to without mishap, but it wasn't to be. So reading map, I believe, is a pleasurable struggle for many of us, a sort of spatial dyslexia. Reading books about them help us to appreciate their complexity, beauty, history, but it hasn't done much to get us to new destinations without unintentional detours. But where is the fun in certainty and reliability? Getting lost with a map in hand is how we discover new things. The history of exploration has borne this out for 2000 years. These days, I hope that new maps also mean personality. One of the downsides of digital mapping is that so much looks the same. You look at a Google map in any global city, be it London, Sydney, anywhere, and the need for accuracy and readability negates any form of idiocracy. But the internet has also brought us a backlash against this cartographically uniform and boring maps. There are more mashups than ever before, and far greater, wider expression of individuality and wit. And it's so great to see, that synergy between technology and creativity. That's wonderful. The hand-drawn map has never been healthier. So be it an upcoming road trip or someone trying to go to a new city, trying to locate a new restaurant. So we see that maps have always struggled to tame and personalize wilderness. And long may this continue. A very small example in this regard. The other part is why it's so important for early childhood development. When we discuss about something like creativity, something like developing fine taste, you would all agree that children are naturally curious. From the minute they get control over their limbs, they work to put themselves out into the world to see how it all works. They explore, observe, imitate, trying to figure out how things operate and how to control themselves and their environment. This unrestricted exploration actually helps children form connection in their brain. It helps them learn. It's also fun. So art is a natural activity to support this free play in children. The freedom to manipulate different material in an organic and unstructured way. It actually allows for exploration and experimentation. So artistic endeavors and self-directed explorations are not only fun, but educational as well. It allows children to practice a wide range of skills that are useful. And when it's useful, not only in the long run, but also for learning. I was going through a very relevant article the other day. Few tips from Michigan State University to support a child's artistic journey. Some very wonderful points were given, and some of them I just like to mention here in this forum. First and foremost, imitating the child. So this research, based on this research, it was recommended that instead of drawing a picture and giving it to a child, it's recommended that it's far better to sit down with the child and imitate their actions, making big scribbles, small lines, or practice drawing circles. If the child is focused on what you are drawing or how good your picture is, they are less likely to be imaginative and creative on their own. Other important point was providing choices, like gathering a wide range of material for the child to use, like paint, colored pencil, chalk, play doh, markers, crayon, oil pastel, scissor, stamp. Mix it up by bringing in unexpected materials, like something that normally doesn't go with it, like Q-tips, maybe dry pasta, bean, and let the child sort it out. Third, a very important tip that was given is support, but don't lead. Let the child lead. We all know that activities become much less fun when they are dictated by someone else. The same goes for children. Let them decide what material they want to use and how and when to use them. Maybe they want to peel off a paper, a crayon, and use it lengthwise on the paper instead of writing with a tip. The other is keeping things open-ended. Instead of sitting down with a specific plan or outcome in mind. The research says that let the child explore, experiment, and use their imagination. There's nothing called right or wrong. They might make a big mess or change their mind several times, but this is all part of the creative process. The other, I think, very, very important point to us, focus on the process and not the product. So encouraging the child in the actions of unstructured art helps them work with a very intrinsic motivation. It teaches them to express themselves freely without worrying about what others think. So if a lot of attention is given to the final product, or we spend a lot of energy in praising or criticizing the end result, a child may be more likely to get your approval. Objective maybe, let me do something where people say I'm good, instead of doing what they want to do. So let the end outcome not matter initially, but let there be a free flow of creativity. Part of focusing on the process involves encouraging effort, exploration, and effort is far more important than the end product. The other aspect was letting it go. As long as the child is safe, not running around with a scissor or something, we should let them explore. they may spend the majority of the time sharpening the color pencil instead of actually drawing with it. Children learn through playing, exploration, and trial and error. So when we give them the freedom to discover, they're learning to create and experiment in new and innovative ways. So I think the most important aspect is getting a child interested in creating and in the process learning. And all we need is something very simple as a paintbrush and an open mind. So these are some points that I wanted to share with all of you. I thank all of you for giving me a patient hearing. We are very experienced and esteemed panel here today. And this particular topic, I think as J.L. Balisa also mentioned, is really very important. And I really look forward to the views on this particular topic with regard to their own practical experiences. And I'm sure we all are looking forward to it. Over to you, Shubhai.
Thank you, Achin. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as Achin mentioned, we have a fantastic panel lined up for you. But before we start with the discussion, a little bit about us here at Notebook. We at Notebook are an EdTech platform. We create short videos pertaining to the school curriculum. These videos come in handy in two cases. One, when you as a teacher are taking a class, you can play these videos to provide your students with a visual understanding of the topic being taught. Also, months later, the students will have access to the same videos on their personal devices at home. Be it a laptop or a smartphone, they can watch the videos over and over again until they get a hang of the topic and also get reminded of what you taught in class the day the video was played. CBSE has a very interesting curriculum. It's fantastically well thought out and encompasses a vast area of topics. Talking about today's topic, building finer tastes, we found this one piece in class 11 English, which talks about modern art, European art, and in contrast with Chinese art. English teachers on this forum would know that I'm talking about a piece called Landscape of the Soul, and something a lot of teachers do confess to having some trouble explaining to young children. Here is a short snippet of the Notebook video for that particular topic.
These two contrasting stories are used to highlight the differences between the objectives and approaches of Chinese and European paintings. European paintings are traditionally more figurative and realistic, while the Chinese arts are more abstract. Chinese paintings are abstract since they cannot be explained or defined in real terms. One has to feel or experience the artist's point of view. A Chinese painter does not want you to borrow his eyes or see exactly what he does. He wants you to experience the essence of the inner life and spirit of the painting. European paintings stress on illusionistic likeness, where the painter wants you to borrow his eye while viewing his painting. He chooses a single viewpoint and wants his viewers to look at the painting from the same viewpoint as his own. Chinese paintings do not have a single viewpoint. The landscape drawn is not a real one, and one can enter it from whichever viewpoint he or she wants to. The Chinese painter wants the viewers to actively participate in viewing a painting using his own physical and mental faculties. In the words of Jerzy Kosinski, the principle of true art is not to portray, but to evoke. The Chinese landscape is an inner mental landscape, a spiritual and conceptual space which is expressed as shan shui. It means mountain water and represents the landscape of the soul. This should explain to you the title of the chapter. It reflects the Taoist principle of viewing the universe. Taoism is a religious and philosophical tradition of Chinese origin. According to Taoism, this universe is composed of two opposite complementary poles, the yin and the yang. In a landscape presentation, the mountain forms the masculine yang, which reaches vertically upwards towards heaven. It is stable, warm, and dry in the sun. Its complementary opposite pole is the water, or the feminine yin, which flows horizontally on the earth and is fluid, moist, and cool.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was just a short snippet of one of the notebook videos. If you head over to our website, www.notebook.school, or use our mobile apps for Android and iOS, you would find more than 10,000 such videos at your disposal. Well, with that done, it is now time to introduce the wonderful panel that we have with us today. We are privileged to have with us Ms. Gita Sharma, who's the founder, chairperson, and promoter of the British International School in Jammu. Madam is an experienced founder with a demonstrated history of working in the education management industry. She is skilled in customer service, public speaking, and research. She is a strong business development professional who holds a Master of Arts, which is English focused in English language, and literature or letters from Manav Bharati University in Himachal Pradesh. Prior to founding the British International School in Jammu in February 2016, she was an English lecturer at the New Modern Group of Colleges for over 6 years. Ma'am, thank you so much for making the time to be here today. We are privileged to have you here. We also have with us Mr. Pramod Mahajan, who's the principal and school director of the Sharjah Indian School. Prior to this, he's had an array of positions, of which he's held positions in CBSE schools as principal for 16 years. He was a senior principal at James Public School, a principal at Lodha World School in Palava, Mumbai, a principal at Podar International School in Kalyan, and a principal at Arya Cambridge International School in Thane. He is also a core member of Community Volunteers Team, Education Wing, Office of Consul General, CGI India, Dubai, UAE. He is a core member of the Working Group of Education Wing of the Office of Ambassador, the Embassy of India in Abu Dhabi, UAE. He is one of the Board of Directors of Principals Council of Sharjah Private Education Authority, which is a part of Government of Sharjah, and is a core member and former secretary of the Principals Executive Council of Sharjah Private Education Authority. He himself holds a Master's of Science in Physics, a Bachelor of Science, a Master of Arts, a Bachelor of Education, and an MBA from NIBM Chennai, IAO, USA. Sir, thank you so much for making the time to be here today. We are privileged to have you on the platform. We also have with us Dr. Rupali Dhamdhere, a dynamic and phenomenal principal who knows how to lead difficult but critically important situations, going beyond the day-to-day demands of a position to create an exceptional education environment. With 7 years of experience in banking and 20 years in the education sector, from teacher to principal, she has molded her leadership style for teamwork, efficiency, and the work ethic to keep getting better. Dr. Dhamdhere is currently the principal at Trinity International School in Pune. Her formal experience in education dates back about 20 years, but her studied preparation goes back much farther. She has earned Master's Diploma in Journalism and Communication from Symbiosis, Bachelor's of Education from University of Pune, a Master's of Science from the University of Sikkim, and a PhD in Analytical Study of Teaching Pedagogy from the University of Tonga. To her credit, she has been recognized and awarded with Indian Humanitarian Award 2020, 50 Most Influential Principals of India Award 2019, Best Principal Award 2019 for contribution to Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and many other awards. Ma'am, thank you so much for making the time to be here today. Privileged to have you on the platform. I shall stop my share now and start my video. I would also request the other panelists to please switch on their cameras. Once again, a very, very warm welcome and thank you for being here. Gita ma'am, if we may start with you. We are talking about developing finer tastes, which we are talking about art appreciation, appreciating a lot of things that students don't really have first-hand experience of. Students talk about the Mona Lisa. A lot of them have never seen how the picture looks, let alone be in Paris at the Louvre. How do you bridge this gap?
It's mostly about, firstly, I'd thank all of you for having me here. And I welcome all the guests along with you all, because we're all here together and we're all here for a great cause. So, and thank you for both the speakers, Mr. Major General, who has, both the people have brought in so much light on the topic. The first thing is for, developing finer tastes in arts. First, a person must have a liking towards it. Only then you grow forward in, developing a finer taste, whether it's in the culinary arts or whether it's in the geographical areas or historic. first you need to have an inclination or a bent of mind to, actually pursue it, and then probably go forward. And a right guidance or a direction can be provided by the school and the teachers. And right now there's so many platforms like yours who are enlightening so many people about a lot many new things which were there beforehand also, but people do not have access to it. So the modern India has a lot more aware and a lot more, jagrut people, I would say, in the, current times. And the pandemic has also made us a lot more socially inclined than before. It was never as if we Indians were never socially connected. We were always a very socially connected network. But during the pandemic, I must say that the art and culture has come up in a lot more spheres than before. Like the live drawings or the real life art has come into foreplay. A simple drawing can be done in so many different art forms. Origami or paper folding has become a very unique way of doing small things with the kids, something which Mr. Bhattacharya was also linking to, that the creativity in early years and in the growing years, something when you're dealing with grammar. We used to play a tippy tippy tap when we were young. So when we've got those words, when we doing articles or modals or whatever we are doing with the kids, probably reported speech, when we're dealing with these things, we generally have some game or something which keeps the older children also in tune with what they're going to be learning and how they're going to remember it. How are they going to have a inclination to move forward and actually adopt a liking for a subject, and then pick it up and gradually grow on it. So adapting to finer tastes, or having good tastes in art and culture, first things first, you need to have a base somewhere. You need to start somewhere, and each and every step that we take, you don't go to Mozart and back immediately. You first understand your own listening skills to the basics which are there. Like in India, when you start with music, the first name comes is that of Lata Mangeshkar, the Nightingale of India. So if you've not heard of her, if you don't know of her, and the people right now, they don't know of Kishore Kumar and so on and so forth, they at least know their singers like Shreya Ghoshal and so on and so forth. So the basic, build up in music, in arts, whether it's history, geography, even in history, now you've got so many spheres of research. You've got so many spheres of children going in for research in their thesis, further researches, higher studies, and prehistoric eras, the scientific relations between how Sanskrit and Indian history was joined together, foreign history, French history. They've got so many avenues right now. The only thing is that a person should be, whenever you got a teacher, proper training and proper guidance and awareness keeps your staff and the children aware about these things. Awareness is all there, and I am quoting a lot to the earlier two speakers, is because they've said a lot of relevant points before, that you need to learn from the best. You cannot have an inexperienced person teach you how to mold a pottery jar or a ghada or a matka if he has just made one. Probably a person who does it all the time, or who's been making pottery for 5 years, or a specific time experienced person can only guide you through it. So a person who has already been through that journey, who's got some experience, is always going to be guiding you or helping you understand the process, the procedure a lot more better. And it would be in my own term or in my humble opinion, it would be easier said than done, and the children would have a lot more hand holding in between. So that is what I would say is, inculcating finer tastes in children. And now their ideologies are so diverse. If you ask them that, if what subjects do you want to take in class 11, they come up with, I want to do engineering, but I also want to have, I want product engineering, I want, design engineering, I want to do creative engineering. So these avenues, and they've got places where they can go for this. So they come and tell us, no, you don't know about this, ma'am, this is new. So this is the modern India, and I feel greatly inspired, or I'm in constant awe of how motivated or inspired the current generation is, and they're very aware and very serious about where they're heading. So art and culture for us is and has been a quintessential place for everyone, and we take it very seriously, and the kids love it too.
Wonderful, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Mahajan, if I may come to you next, sir. You have a very unique problem. So teachers who are in India, they're talking to students who perhaps on their vacations see various parts of the country. A lot of the syllabus becomes relatable. You are talking to young people who are perhaps born in Qatar or moved there when they were very young. So a lot of the Indian stuff in the CBSE syllabus would need quite a bit of grappling with. Now add to that the layer of finer tastes. The difference between a Rajasthani miniature painting versus maybe the Ajanta Ellora art. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, good evening, good afternoon, salam alaikum, namaste, namaskara. Yes, first of all, we have to understand what's the finer test is. We are discussing about creating the finer test in arts and music and this. So what's the finer test is? According to me, the finer test is how competent you are. What are your competencies? What are your capabilities? What are your abilities? And up to what extent you are utilizing it? According to me, the finer test is how nicely you bounce back during your tough situation, how nicely you smile during your tough situation. So that is somewhat the finer test. Now come to the teaching. Let me and how skill based you are. That is your final test. Like, let me cite one small story. It was very touching to my heart. There was there are some scientists was sitting in the boat, and a layman was sailing that boat in the sea, and they went up to a large extent and in a deep sea, and then all of a sudden one physicist asked, do you know Newton's laws of motion? That sailor says, no, I just don't know. He said, your 10% life has gone. Then the mathematician asked him, do you know how to what are the logic gates and logical consistencies and all? He said, I first time hearing this thing. Yeah, another 10% life has gone. So he was counting 10 plus test 20. The biologist says, do you know what is bacteria and what is virus? No, in pandemic also you don't understand what is bacteria and virus. 10% life has gone. History person asked something like that. That story was going on, and the 90%, he says, my 90% life has gone. And then all of a sudden there was a sea storm, and he jumped into the sea, and he says, all of you, do you know swimming? No. So 100% life of yours is gone, and then I am a leading. So that is the final test. How you apply in a tough situation whatever you have learned, whatever you have experienced, whatever your expertise is. That is a final test. And now, according to me, the students, they now understood what the final test is. During this pandemic, schools were closed, but the schooling was going on. And prior to the pandemics, that 5-star schools, air-conditioned classroom, that sort of furniture, that sort of blah 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 expertise teacher, that sort of suited booted principal, those were the final tests. So now they understood the final test is up to what extent you internalize the learning which is being taught by the teacher. Teacher also understood that the days were gone when they were sage on a stage, days were gone when they were guide on the side, days were gone when they were act as a felicitator only. Now they understood that scaffolding is the final test. Going along with the student is the final test. So when the variety of the students are coming to us, like I am heading the school which is one of the oldest and the biggest school of UAE, we are having 10,400 plus students of different nationalities. Among them, how to create the art and how to create the culture. We just provide them the platform. We just give them the complete ownership of their performances, of their learning process, and we learn from them. And our choreographer was sitting and observing that how the Lebanese are putting their legs, how the Hindustanis, when the Bhangra tune was there, how they are raising their hands, how the Maharashtrians, when the Launi is being played, how they were, what is their body language. And then that choreographer, after learning from them, do something which is unique. And by that means, trust me, from last 4 years, we are the UAE champion of the UFest. So that's the way we have developed art and music and dance within them. Painters, painting, like that UFest is a combination of all the things. So the painting, we don't do anything. We ask them, okay, whatever you want to paint, you do that thing. Throw the paint here and there. They start doing something, and they themselves, when they compete with themselves, they create something new. And they will, when they define that thing, yeah, this is this, this is this. So actually we do learn. Our art teacher says, wow, this is something new. And with that, they have developed some sort of memory drawing skills. They have developed some sort of different styles of painting. And those paintings, they were rocking like anything. So that is the final test. Now, another final test is whether you are doing out of the box or you are throwing the box out. We permit the students to throw the box out and then perform. Because, if you ask them, okay, do something out of the box, so they remain in a periphery of certain enclosed criterias, and then they don't do that thing. The final test or whatever with the academics we are dealing with. See, we, being a community school, admit anyone and everyone, anytime and every time, irrespective of their social status, their financial status, their academic status. I am the one principal who admit the students who pass from the compartment exam, 33%, 35%. We don't have that criteria, 85%. But when they passed out, we ensure that all are first class. All are that thing. We are not bothered about the marks and all, but we ensure that 100% and 100% first classes. There are 5-star, 7-star, 9-star schools who admit the students only 80% and above. I do ask the question to them on a very high level platform, what is your final result? Is it 100% first classes? No. Why? Then what you have done? What you have done? 80% student, you have taken all the students 80% and above, and your final result is on an average, it is not 80%, means what we have done? Whether it is a teaching or whether it is something cheating. So that's a big question mark. So final test lies there. In what way you scaffold the students, up to what extent you give the full autonomy of their learning to them. Are you making them happy while teaching? See, I started my career with Army School, and I was a gold medalist from the university, MSc Physics and all, and then I started teaching physics. One day, one brigadier has come and he has observed my class, and then he took me out. Mr. Mahajan, you are as good as a non-B.Ed teacher is. I said, oh, as good as. But he said, non-B.Ed teacher is. Then my principal called me. He said, see, you have to modify something. Okay, I will modify something. And then I went to the next day to the class and I said, yeah, you tell me what you want to learn, how you want to learn. So one child stood, he said, yesterday you are telling, I taught them the law of conservation of energy. Energy neither be created nor be destroyed. It can transfer from one form to the another form. Potential energy goes into the kinetic energy, sound. We just don't understand anything. So I was blanked. Then all of a sudden I said, okay, I am the one who was the university topper. I am the one who can do anything. I am the one who can compete with myself. I said, okay. I took one glass of water. That glass, no, put water on that, put on the table. I said, I am raising this. What is this? I said, glass. Water, yes. Mass, yes. M is there, yes. I am raising it. What I am doing? Going against the gravity. So G is there, yes. Height, yeah, you have raised it, sir. H, M, G, H. What is there? Potential energy. I raise it. And literally I throw that box, that glass of water on the floor. Sound was there, it was moving here and there and scattered here and there. And the students, they started, wow, now we understood, sir, how the potential energy is converted into the kinetic energy, sound energy, scattering, vibration, and whatnot. So that is the final test. Are we doing that? If not, forget about the final test. So the problem is we are not finding ourselves. We have to tune ourselves as per the pace and speed of a child in the field of education. In the field of life, you have to tune ourselves in such a manner that your existence will be positively taken care of by the others. In the creative area, you have to prove that you are the one who can mad others, who can create that madness within others. And that is possible when you yourself is mad. What I mean to say mad means into the depth of that concept, into the depth of that art, into the depth of that sort of learning. If that is there, we can develop the final test, and that is in true sense developing the things. Now, come to the another point. Like one day, I like 2 days before only, they called me as a chief guest for some concern, and then I reached over there 2 hours before. So I was seeing that thing when Lebanese dancer was taking the mathematics class. He was dancing here and there and teaching them this is the right angle, this is the acute angle, this is the obtuse angle by the dance step. Are we doing that sort of integration? There is zero for namesake, everyone is saying art integration, but in what way? Only we are saying art integration. Art integration is what? What is the art integration? Is every teacher is an artist? No, not at all. But yes, if a teacher who is a physics teacher teaching the physics artistically, or a chemistry teacher, instead of saying water, saying H2O, how that H2O and O, how that bonding happens, if that artistic touch if he is bringing, then developing the final test, and then that is in true sense the what we can say the integration of art or craft or music or dance. Otherwise, if you are not melodious, if you don't have that pitch, if you don't have the modulation in your sound, forget about any sort of integration. People speaks hours with the same face, with the same mood, with the same body language, and they speak on what? Art integration. So, see, you have to live within that art integration. Are we doing that? If we are not doing that thing, then what sort of test? Forget about the fine test, whether it is a test. See, nowadays, there is a new concept coming up, the hyper adaptive learning. What's the meaning of hyper adaptive learning? As per the pace of the learner. The learning which makes the learner happy. What learner wants to learn, when learner wants to learn, how learner wants to learn, what learning makes the learner happy. If you do that thing, the adaptive learning happens. Otherwise, we are conducting remedial classes. What remedy you are giving? Have you identified whether the child requires the remedy or not? For the namesake, the timetable principals will put remedial class, enrichment class. How? On what basis? A child who is very, very good in maths may be very weak in the English. So what remedy you have to give? Give the remedies in the field of English only, or teach him or her mathematics linguistically. That is the final test. Are we doing that? It's a big question mark. Time is limited. With that question, I would like to stop over here, and then the next question will come back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. A very interesting take on finer taste there. Dr. Dhamdhere, will come to you next.
Yeah.
Ma'am, how to bridge this gap?
How to bridge this gap. Now, Dr. Mahajan, actually, he has very interestingly put all the facts and things together. And he's very right when he's saying about first, we should question ourselves. We should really realize as to how are we going to put it forward to the children. So when we're talking about bridging the gap, we should first learn to analyze where we stand, where we expect our children to be, and then decide on the path. Now, when we decide on the path, I do understand that each child cannot, have the same pace of learning, the same type of learning, the same, understanding, the same perception. But then it would not also be possible to take, a different path for every child. Now, the path that has to be decided has to be such that it includes all the other skills as well. So like a very nice example sir has given when he said that he was teaching physics and he actually took the glass and he dropped it down. So that path, now the children who do understand the concept at the go of the textbook also, but the children who do understand by looking at things, the children who do understand by doing things, so many things brought it together. Now this is the kind of bridge that we are looking at. So we should really, and one bridge does not work for everybody. So I would say if my school, I'm doing something like that, my kind of bridge would not work for someone else because they have a different, requirement there. So there has to be that kind of thing. So basically it is not that difficult also when I'm saying that. Just basically understand the needs, trying to fine tune it, trying to exactly analyze where we're wanting to reach, and then chalking out your path. So yes, the bridging has to happen. And when we entered into this pandemic, we all were thinking that, we all went to online learning, and everyone thought that there is a requirement for a bridge course because we thought that the children are not, concept prepared for the concept as they would have if they were physically present. And many schools I've heard that they did this bridge course and things like that. So it sounds very nice, bridge course and everything. It's good also. But how it was done, what was the objective, what was the motive, and was it also analyzed after doing it? Because just doing a bridge course, but a detailed analysis after that would actually really take you to a level where, whether it was really fruitful or not, is what I feel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Again, getting very interesting takes on this. Honestly, we had expected this more to be about fine art and fine music, but thanks to Mahajan sir, now the construct has changed a little bit. But sir, you also spoke about something very interesting. Your school, you said you admit everybody across the socioeconomic spectrum.
Yeah.
Now, when you do that, people come in with different sensibilities, right? We often talk about finer taste as a very elitism thing, which it should not be. It should be more generalized. So how do you balance this part?
See, this question was asked by one of our CEO when he came for admission to his son to my class. He said, "You have kids of the drivers and conductors and auto rickshaw walas." Yeah. At the same time, I have kids of the famous surgeon of the city. I said, "How will you balance?" So I asked him, "What is your? Are you a cricketer? Are you a player? Are you?" He said, "I am a cricketer." So then I asked him another question because see, to make him realize, and it was a challenge given to me by the management. This person's child should be admitted to our school. By the way, we are overcrowded. Like I goes underground when the admissions opens, but still that challenge was given. If you have some skill, you admit his child. I said, "Who is your favorite?" He said, "No, then he is from Australia, this one from London, this one from India, this one, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, okay, CEO, no? So MBA and all those things. So I said, okay, there is a common statement that Sachin Tendulkar, who belongs to like Sunil Gavaskar's category or Kapil Dev's category, Ravi Shastri's category. He is known as the god of a cricket. He said, yeah, there is no second thought. Okay, yeah, Dhoni, always smiling only. Sometimes out on zero, then he will run, round his bat and then again go with smiling. And if he creates hundreds also, so he will shake his hand, why not 150? So okay, what is about that? He said, yeah, he is a legendary cricketer. Okay, one is a god of a cricket, another one is a legendary cricketer who won the World Cup T20. Who won that? He said, yeah, it happened in his captaincy only. Okay, why? He said, yeah, now I got it. Okay, but that's the same thing. We are here to provide the platform. We don't teach them anything, blah, 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 which we don't know. Okay, only we ensure that we don't teach the child which the child is knowing himself or herself. We simply challenge them and work with them. And because of that, those who are 33%, they score very high. Still 33%. You can tell me, sir, IAS examination, how they put that mark? Okay. He said, no. Why? That is the highest post people are giving, IAS, IFS. When they are not putting the criteria of the percentage and all, why we should put? He said, now, yes, I am ready. I am ready to admit my child. And he admitted his child and he didn't regret till child passed out 12th. And he is now in Business School of Economics, London. So this way we do convince and we create the balance. We are talking about bridging the gap. My question is, why allow the gap to be created? If you don't allow the gap to be created, there is no question of bridging the gap. And then if gap is created, then very rightly Dr. Rupali ma'am said, then the bridges are different. Then the length of that bridges is different. Then the width of the bridges are different. Then how much bridges will you find out? Better not allow anyone to create the gap. And when it will not be? By the experiential learning. Allow the kids, allow the learners, allow your fellow teachers, your colleagues to commit the mistake, to commit the blunders, enjoy it and leave it to them. Find out where the things went wrong. Trust me, when they analyze that thing, where the things went wrong, they review it, they redo it, they revise it, they replan it, and they reinvent it. And that reinvention of themselves, making themselves a finer one, making themselves a better version of themselves, does not allow any gap to be created. And then there is no question of bridging the gap. I always remember now, I always say that he is my ideal and all, APJ Abdul Kalam sir. He said, see, don't shine like a star. Understand how to burn like a star. If you burn like a star, by default you will shine like a star. So that is something which creates the final test. Those who like to burn like a star, they will come, they will shine like a star. But just opposite happening. We wanted to shine like a star, and for that we do all sort of short-term goals and short-term techniques and shortcuts and all, and then end up to certain things. Why these suicides, number of suicides are increasing? Because of the shortcuts. Because of the shortcuts, mere shortcuts. Their ambition is very high and their action is very less, and they get nervous. Instead of that, teach them how to burn like a star. And literally, if the teachers, if the academics, if the curriculum, if the schooling does that thing, things will resolve. No gap will be there. Are we laughing when they commit the blunders? That is another art, and that is a proper test. We don't do that thing. We will find out you got a 90% marks, where that 10% has gone, and celebrate that 70% marks. The day will come that child will score 100% marks. So that we have to do. See, I always give the example of that top 30, top 20. They don't have any pathway. They don't have any curriculum. They don't have blah, blah, blah books. Whatever the books thrown by the students, they are taking those books and working that thing. They are burning. They are burning themselves, and that's why they are shining. They are always in the first 100 or first 500. I have done a survey of last 10, 15 years in the CBSE and ICSE and IB, and they have not seen in the first 100. The toppers of those not seen in the first 100 of the IITs. Why? Why? Because they have attempted the shortcuts. I'm very happy when I have seen your video. The way you people are, connecting and leaving it with a big question mark. Now you connect that thing, you find out that thing, now you do that thing. If such type of challenges are put in front of the students, they will burn themselves in the process of learning and they will shine. So I wanted to salute Notebook that yes, you are doing a good work. Instead of mentoring and the teaching and coaching, you are creating something, challenging them and living up to them. Understand what you want to understand. Understand draw the conclusion, whatever you want to draw. Because when they started drawing the conclusion, they will be open-minded. But if you want them to decide, to make the decision, they will be close-minded. And the future will be only for the open-minded. So that's my intake on that. That way we can balance, that way we can bridge the gap, and that way we will not allow the gap to be created. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you so much for the compliment. The endeavor is to make things useful and effective.
Yeah.
Dr. Dhamdhere, if I may come to you next, ma'am. As much as we may dislike it, the fact is classical music, high quality art has a elitism tag attached to it, right? It's for the rich. How do you break this perception?
The thing is, even I think the speaker who was there initially, they spoke about taste. So even if you're listening to music, it was said, if you go to another level and you understand the words, you understand the meaning, you understand the motive behind why it was the particular song or the lyrics were written. You understand what was the mood of the poet or things when it was written. So yes, it takes your learning to another level. So when we talk about, like you said about music and, the classical music and all these things. So why the tag attached is, I think, because we are making it into a thing like that. We need to understand that we need to break it down, simplify, and get it to a level where the children are able to understand. Now, yes, I do understand that there is a difference between the classical, but whatever songs are there, they are built on the notes of and the ragas and the things of the classical music. So why not take a number which the children are understanding and then relate it to that? So then it becomes very simple for the quietest child who would not even get up to ask you anything to immediately relate to it. And the next time when the child has a favorite song, the child will definitely go back and try to find out how the basis and what notes this was built upon. So I think it is up to us to try to get them closer and make it simpler and not put that picture that this is something really hi-fi and this is something that you beyond your reach, and you have to be in a particular way to understand this and appreciate this kind of music. No, let's not create that big cloud around it. Let's keep it simple, and once it's simple, I think the children will come closer to it, the children will understand it better. So for that, I think we also are responsible where, if we can get them closer to, if we can teach them to relate things, if we can break it down to their levels and get it to them. So that I think would definitely, like even for simple things like, yes, the children can rap very well. So even if they're wanting to, even if they're wanting to maybe present their science presentation, and just for for a change, or for the sake of, we are talking about art integration everywhere. So you tell them, okay, you do this in a rap format. So how would they do it? They would definitely try to put some effort to it. If why I'm just quoting rap because maybe, it is a little more thing where the children can immediately put those words into a tune or something, or kind of a story or something. But it is up to us how we are trying to convey to them, how we are trying to take it closer to them, so that they are. Now they say that an ark was built by amateurs and the professionals built the Titanic, but the Titanic sank and the ark sailed, the Noah's ark sailed, and yes, they all survived. So we need to take it to the amateurs. We need to tell them, not just concentrate on the professionalism of it, but we need to take it to them for them to make it simpler, and for them to enjoy the process, because that is what is important. The more difficult and the more we try to make it too scientific. I'm not saying just get down and forget all the rules, no, not like that, but I'm just saying that to break it down, to make it simpler and get it to their levels, so that it reaches out, and we have a better understanding of culture and music amongst the children.
Shivayu, can you jump in for just a second?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So,
Please.
the least qualified man to talk about classical music right here, neither trained nor given the opportunity. But I may be very mistaken about the source, but I think I read Satyajit Ray giving an insight. And that's an example of how a very simple fact of life or simple insight can, give you a far greater understanding of what you're listening to. He said the Indian classical music essentially means that there is one thread of a certain length, and then you weave beautiful designs using the same length. But of course, the designs are all different, right? Your mastery lies in how many more beautiful things you can create out of the same, length of thread. And I thought it was remarkable to understand. And he said, Western classical music, on the other hand, is a story. So whether you understand the story or not, but if it's a well-composed piece of music, you would see it has a beginning, and then it has a middle, and then it has an end. Now, I think even a simple fact like that, brought to the notice of a hard-boiled Fauji, gives him an understanding of, what a nuance of finer things of life. The second and the last thing I will say is, again, somebody brought it to my notice, because I'm one of the things my children and my wife never allow me to do is to sing, for obvious reasons. But somebody brought this to my notice, that when you listen to programs like The Voice, where there are 4 judges and there's a singer, and so I gradually found that I could spot which singer is going to get 4 turns or a couple of turns based on something somebody taught me. He said, it depends on the song selection, and the song selected by the singer should be such that it displays every range of his or her voice, not just one kind of a voice. And every time I heard that, so I'm just giving this little insights to say, if somebody told this to me as a child, no, I still couldn't have sung here today, but maybe I would have been better off. Yeah.
Yeah, one more point which I wanted to add in that. See, up to what extent you are simpler in learning process, that makes you that thing. During my tenure in Mumbai, I have visited the Dharavi band. The people though don't have proper, dress and all, on the way they were playing. I asked them, how you learn this thing? Who is your ustad? They said, we are the ustad. Okay, how it happened? So they said, see, we listen a lot of songs. They in the language of education, they are internalizing that thing, internalizing those songs. And after that, they said, whatever the waste material kachada we found out, we play with that. And if similar type of tones are coming up, we design something, and then we start playing that thing. So they were simpler in learning process, innovative, critical thinker, and they are thinking beyond, not doing out of the box, but throwing the box out. And they were coming up with very, very, very nicely with those things and all. So that is the, and then they said, okay, after that, now we have a platform. What sort of platform? See, we have developed our own thing. This device gives this sound, this device gives this sound, and on that platform we can jump. And that day, one boy of 9th standard, he says, "Sir, we can jump even. Okay, even sky is not the limit." No, 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 you are wrong. Even sky is the beginning for us. See the thought process. Sky is the beginning. To a principal, they were telling, "Sir, sky is not our limit. Sky is the beginning." And that Dharavi band is unique in the world now. So when I was listening to BBC London, they were talking about Abhinandan, the pilot, fighter pilot Abhinandan. See, he was flying in a aircraft which is in the world of, we can say, the supersonic aircraft world is just like a bullet cart. And then he was fighting against that pilot who was having that sort of F-16 and whatnot. And finally, who won? So it is not the aircraft. It is the skill which make fighter pilot Abhinandan the Abhinandan. So that is there. I would like to cite one example. Last year, pandemic was there, everything was there, and one competition, photography competition was organized. My 6th standard student has won the photography competition of UAE and got the award of 25,000 dirham. Now 25,000 dirham is in lakhs, like that. I called that buyer, "Your father is a driver and you won this photography. Teach me how to do. I have this camera, but I could not utilize properly. I have Apple, but I could not, never able to take a nice photo." He said, "Sir, I have a small camera which is costing 750 rupees only, which was gifted on my birthday by my mother. It is not the camera, it is the eye. My eyes are like that. Whenever I see, I can do something, some magical things with my eyes, and that's why I won that competition." So those eyes, that skill of Abhinandan, that platform of creating that, internalizing that sound, that is something which gives the platform. And according to me, the classical music is the platform on which any musician can jump in such a manner that the sky is the just beginning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Gita, if I may come to you next, I'll just go for the last round. And this is the reason why we came up with this topic to discuss. We typically take topics that are closer related to this curriculum. We are talking to a generation
that is your final test.
Yes, absolutely. This is my final test, more likely. Gita ma'am, so we are talking to a generation of TikTokers, right?
Yes.
Students who are growing up on TikTok. There's a content genre now called cringe. How is cringe something people would want to consume is beyond me, right? Now, you are talking to these people who are bombarded with this on social media throughout the day. They are consuming this content, they're listening to that music, they're, if I can call it music at all. How do you then bring them back to what I would consider finer taste? Or is it necessary at all? That's also a question.
See, this is what is happening in every household where the parents want to listen to something and the children are in their own rooms listening on their AirPods into something. So what you're saying is very factual and it is a reality right now. The children right now are on an offbeat mode when it comes to classical music and they have very little interest because it doesn't come to them like for the likes of Satyajit Ray, who were genius artists, and Rabindranath Tagore, a person who created his own music. A genius of a person, Kishore Kumar, who was a natural born singer who did not have any training whatsoever. For the likes of your maths genius, Mr. Ramanujam, who was a born genius. And these people, the likes of these people are unknown to the children. They don't want to know about them. Rather than that, they want to know about Elon Musk. How has he created the, SpaceX? How is Tesla come into being? When can we buy it? How can we buy it? What job should we get into to buy that Tesla? So now they've become very, this is they see everything very, molecular, or, they are in a, very platonic area. To get them back to reality, What we first do with them is, we ground them in the school. We've got these bombardment of questions that we put at them, and we tell them that, there are, you need to first realize what your likings are. You just can't follow everyone because everyone is doing engineering in your school. You don't have the, passion to follow maths, and you don't have the backing of physics and chemistry, and you probably just going to flunk it. You just can't take that subject because both your parents are doctors and you want to be a doctor. What is your inner, voice? You need to listen to that. And it is the most difficult thing to explain to a doctor why your child cannot be, taking those subjects. Why is it not the cup of tea for your kid? It is, a virtual fight where you're being polite, you're being courteous, and yet you're showing a mirror or reflecting what your child has done in the past 2 years or 3 years, and telling the parent, no, this is not the right option. If your child picks this, he is going to have a different career later. And the fineries, the finer, taste that we're talking about this is, it comes up or with the art and the culture that we're talking about in all, that comes to me when you're talking about anything in life. There's art when you're eating a aloo tikki. If it's presented well, there's art in there. When you're having a glass of water and it is offered with a smile, there's art in there. It is how you see and perceive things in life. It is not limited to music or movies or directing or, these things. It is always there. Art is there in passion, art is there in science, science is an art, and art is a science. So bringing that notion together, it is all in the mind, that I would say. And whether a person enjoys music and likes to sing it, this for General Saab, if you want to sing, you can please intral us all, and we'd be all ears for you to sing as well. But if you enjoy it and you want to do it, why not now? There's no age like now. I won't be the same tomorrow, or I wasn't the same yesterday. So why not do what you want to right now? So this is what we tell the kids. You want to sing out loud, we take them out in the ground, and we've got, loud singing competitions. You want to be heard, what do you want to say? You're feeling bad, you want to say something, say it out, and then we get to the class. This is the topic, we need to finish this. So to get them to understand, out of that TikTok and Insta mode is a big challenge. It's a challenge for the parents. It's a challenge for us. It's a challenge for them to, leave it and come to reality and focus on what is expected of them, because that is a, different kind of mode. And it's all fantasy. It's not reality. It's reality with, filters. It's not the real self. You don't show your pigmentation marks or your acne scars on the Insta or the TikTok. You've got filters where you show a more refined face, and when people see the reality, they hush back, they pull back. So we make them a lot more confident on what they are actually inside, and trying to bring that out. So that is where I see art and culture coming into being, and what kind of motivations or what kind of inspirations they need, providing them that. We had this small science quiz in class 3, where we had a very simple question: does octopus has a brain, and does he have a heart? So a child came up with a thing that, if he doesn't have a brain, how is his body going to survive? A child said jellyfish doesn't have a heart, the jellyfish doesn't have a brain, and it is still surviving, and it is like a alien on this planet. And from there someone said octopus has 9 hearts, the one original, and every tentacle has it hearts. The other one said no, they are brains. The octopus has 3 hearts, one for breathing, one for locomotion, and one for breathing out. So when you've got interactions like these, The children learn by, conversing, and we miss that on the online platform mostly. So these kind of things, starting from very young children to the middle level children to the oldest children, they're all kids till they get to college. And there's a leap of faith when they leave the school and come to college, because here we've protected them and we keep them grounded. The parents hold them tight. But the moment they're out, they're like free birds. They're out there. Whether they go to the class or not is a option. Here we keep them grounded. You've not done your English class. Your teacher has messaged us. Your French class was missed. Why? There's a why. So the art and culture which we expect them has to happen when we keep them grounded and aware to what is really quintessential to them, and why is it essential, how is it going to make a difference. And the most important thing is keeping the parents in loop. If they support their children, the children will be able to fly and soar higher. And like Dr. Mahajan just said, that sky is just the beginning. It's a beautiful thing to say. Thank you so much. I'll end my words here.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Dr. Rupali,
I just want to
yes, sir, please.
On a lighter note, I want to tell Gita that I do sing, but I only sing when people haven't eaten yet. I don't want anybody throwing up, so that's okay. Yeah, go on, please. Sorry.
Thank you. Dr. Dhamdhere, if I may come to you next, ma'am. How do you ensure that the students who are facing this surfeit of content that they're being hit with, how do they pick and choose the right ones?
Yeah, that is actually, teaching them to be a little more responsible. Now, because today they have everything that, they need to know at their fingertips. So they can just, with one click of a button, they can get tons of information of what they're looking at. Now we need to teach them to filter it out as to amongst that which one is actually useful for them and the information that is just not going to be useful for them. Now this is a tough task. It's not easy to segregate, and when the child is on his own or child is on her own, to stop the child from looking at information which is just not necessary or which is just not important and things like that. So looking at constantly giving the children a positive input as to which information should be looked at, teaching them how to be smart at searching things, teaching them that how do they use their keywords in a better way, so that the research is more refined, talking to them about leaving a positive digital footprint, telling them that whatever they are doing, whatever they are looking at, whatever they are researching for is leaving a digital footprint, and they need to have a clean and a better digital footprint. So that is what making them aware of all these things. Yes, information is available, but it should just not be that because it is available, you are looking for it. There should be a motive, there should be an objective, and it is up to us to constantly, I'm not saying, constantly have that kind of eye where they feel that, they have no space to breathe, but creating that awareness amongst the children, having those sessions with them, giving them those live examples, also along with that, giving them, whenever they are making a mistake, treating that mistake as a learning experience is also very important, that they know that this is what was wrong, this is what was not required, and now I need to rectify it. And if I do this in this manner, this is not going to be the correct way, this is going to be the way I need to look at it. So yes, lots of information, loads of information actually available today, or in our times, whenever we wanted to look for something, yes, we use the library, we use the dictionary. Today you ask a child anything, the child immediately goes on to Google. So the everything is at their fingertips. So that is beautiful that they have so much information, but it is important at the same time to to make them aware of the facts, make them aware of the make them aware of what kind of right keywords they need to search, make them aware of leaving a positive digital footprint, make them aware of the things that they are not supposed to get onto, or get onto the sites, even if there are pop-ups and things like that. So yes, these things are going to come. You cannot be there with them 24/7. So giving them that responsibility, empowering them to be responsible, is what we need to do, because we are not going to be there with them 24/7. You cannot guard them 24/7. You cannot be behind their backs and looking for what they are doing 24/7. So it is better that you give it to them. You ask them to be a little more responsible. You teach them to be responsible. You give them those tools in their hands, and empower them so that they know the correct use of it, and they do not misuse the kind of extra information or excessive information that they have on any particular thing.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Mr. Mahajan, if I may come to you next, sir.
Yeah, according to me, see, this 21st century generation learner, we can call them Z generation learner. We as an educationist, we normally scaffold them by saying that utilize or explore the technology without becoming techno addict. So they should be rich in technology. Technology should be their final test, but they should not become techno addict. Second thing, I always tell them machine learning is the futuristic way of teaching, learning, and going beyond. But explore the machine without becoming the machine. So that's the fine test, and that's the real learning. Otherwise, what is happening? You take the case of the IT people, they are a lot of frustration, a lot of stress. Why? They are not exploring the machines, they are becoming the machine. They are not embracing the technology, they are becoming the techno addict. At the same way, I always request my teachers that yes, you live with the technology, but remember one thing, the solid platform is your traditional knowledge, your traditional way of teaching. That blackboard is the finest test. Yes, you utilize technology, you get well equipped, and you can perform well. But if you forget your basics, your platforms, you will be only in the air, hanging like anything, and then that nervousness will come. So if being a edu leader or being an educator or being a teacher, if I remember and if I internalize my platform, my traditional way, and learn a lot, being a lifelong learner, experiential learner, we using a lot of technologies, exploring technologies, embracing machines, I will be the better version. Otherwise, I will be ended at becoming a fine machine or techno addict or whatever we you say. So my humble request to the students and to the young generation, as well as to the teachers, as well as to my fellow principals, yes, our platform of a traditional way of teaching and knowledge is the best, and that gives the path to even conquer to the Google. I'm a Google user. I'm a techno savvy person, but still I have full faith in that blackboard. Lot of whiteboards are coming, a lot of gem boards are coming. I'm a master of that, but still that blackboard is my fine test. And because of that, no technology, nothing can replace the teacher, because teacher is a teacher. And but yes, techno savvy teachers is a threat to the traditional teacher. There is no second thought about that. According to me, we have to preserve our traditions, our traditional ways, explore the machine, embrace the technology, get well equipped, and fight that battle which you can win. No, Major General Bali may surprise that thing. I am that person who don't battle that war which I can't win. I am always putting myself in that war which I am comfortable enough or competent enough to win. But ultimately, war is a war. So that risk we have to take. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So if I may just speak a couple of points about this war that we are wanting to win, because there are wonderful ideas that have come out from what Dr. Pramod Mahajan said, what Gita said, what Dr. Rupali said. The fact of the matter is we still need a plan, and we need some specifics on how we're going to do this. So I do a lot of faculty development programs. I've just gone to a place called Shegaon in Maharashtra, wonderful engineering college. And I was talking to the professors about the same subject there. Now the issue is, quite clearly, technology is a very useful thing to have, quite clearly. And whether you like it or not, it is like sitting on a beach and saying, I don't like getting wet. I don't like the waves. Well, the wave is going to come crashing down. You will get wet. Yeah. So the waves are here. There is no getting away from that. But it is this other part of the technology, which is what we call the few digital platforms of, Facebooks and YouTube and Instagram and Reels and TikTok and what have you. There is a real danger. And I, for one, who are like Dr. Pramod Mahajan, I always tell people that I've wasted more time on social media than anybody else, so I am competent to talk about it. I applied to join Facebook when Facebook was not even admitting people in India. And they replied back to me in saying, it's only for Harvard, get off our back. So I do understand that we are facing a real danger there of our relationships becoming transient, of our distractedness, of our attention deficit, of the superficiality of wanting to convey everything in 240 characters and not really going deep into anything. If you read a wonderful book called Deep Work, and that's a book we should tell our children to read, that anybody today who's doing deep work is winning. And the best people are actually not even dabbling on social media because they are busy doing the real stuff. So I do believe that just as alcoholism at one point became an issue for everybody to talk about and control, and smoking became an issue, I think we are already at the point where social media has become an issue or should become an issue. And unless we repeatedly sensitize our children and ourselves for that matter, that there is no magic about to happen from the WhatsApp. That cell phone that I'm looking at 2 o'clock when I'm going on my arthritic knees to the bathroom and waiting for some WhatsApp message to come is not happening, is not bringing any joy in my life. I recommend the people I talk to download an app called Stay Free, that's 2 words, or any other similar app, and just it'll tell you every day how much time you spent on your mobile phone. I challenge you, the average of time spent by most people around you would be 5 to 6 hours. That's the kind of time that you're spending. Then I tell students and professors, if you are willing to spend 6 hours of your waking hours on a little gizmo in your hand, which is giving you absolutely nothing, then you have no right to say, मेरे पास time नहीं है, नहीं तो मैं पता नहीं क्या बन जाता. When you know where your time is going, right? So I think by way of plan for this war that Dr. Pramod very articulately brought out, I think we need to just keep sensitizing people again and again and again that this is something that is not getting you anything. You use all the technology for all the good things, but these few things, I don't recommend people to get off them, but drink wisely, as they say, and don't drink before you drive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We've gone significantly over time, so I'll have to wrap it up here. But I have loved every bit of this discussion. I must thank each and every one of you for those wonderful inputs. General Bali, thank you so much, sir, for making the time to be here today.
Thank you.
It's always a privilege to listen to you. The wealth of anecdotes that you bring to any conversation, sir, that in itself is stuff worth copying in many other conversations. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Dr. Mahajan, thank you so much, sir, for being here, for giving us a very different perspective of what finer tastes entail. And yes, doing a great thing by making your school so inclusive. I think that in itself stands out as a beacon to all the schools that are out here. Thank you so much for taking us through that, sir. Thank you, sir. Dr. Rupali, ma'am, thank you so much for being here again. Always a privilege to host you. I think that point that you made about each bridge being different and how each child needed a separate bridge is something that we are in amazement of. I mean, the people who are here at Notebook, we did not start off being teachers. We were in other professions and then came into education. And every day we are amazed at how well teachers have done this, that understanding the students' requirements and building bridges to fit that requirement. So thank you so much, ma'am. Gita ma'am, thank you so much for being here. I know you took an extra amount of trouble to be here today, despite your busy schedule. First of all, a huge thank you for that. And also, ma'am, I think the points that you made about the distinction between qualities of content and also the need to have students grounded, despite all the other noise that is going on around them on social media and elsewhere, I think was a very valid point, ma'am. Thank you so much for bringing that to the table. And to the wonderful audience that we've had, thank you so much for staying through this conversation. It's always a privilege to host you. Well, we will see you at our next webinar. Until then, please take care, stay safe, and goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.